Hey friends, Don Immel here. This month we're talking about our tribe. Each year we engage in business and elections. Annually, the elections involve electing our general presbyters. Every so often, we elect various representatives to the executive presbytery. I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that many of us have no context for what these offices and the exercise of electing someone to them even means. So first, let me just express that when you have a structure as large as ours in the Assemblies of God, you need a lot of participation to maintain the organizational side of things. The General Presbytery is comprised of 3 members from each of our 64 districts. World Missions also has general presbyters to represent their perspectives in this ecclesial decision-making body. Let me put this in some context. The network superintendent is a general presbyter by virtue of his office. Then 2 other general presbyters are elected from our network. Usually the secretary, treasurer, and the assistant superintendent are elected to fill those roles. We meet once a year as a general presbytery along with several hundred other GPs to discuss the direction and polity of our fellowship. The agenda for our meetings often includes reviewing resolutions before a general council, position papers on issues like responding to the issues on sexual identity or alcohol consumption, restoration practices for our 38,000 ministers, and so forth. Every so often, we also elect a female, minister under 40, and an ethnic person from within our network to participate for 1 year as a general presbyter. As you can imagine, the meetings are busy, being compressed with a lot of reports and business that influence and to a large degree determine the trajectory of our fellowship. The room is full. I've estimated that there can be over 400 people in the room during this annual business session that determines our AG polity. Besides this large body of ministry representatives from across the fellowship, we have an executive presbyter that actually applies the polity determined by the general presbytery and the general council. The general council, that's you. The executive presbytery is comprised of about 20 men and women from among our ministers. An executive presbyter is elected to represent a region, an ethnic group, or another demographic like female credential holders or ministers under the age of 40. I wanted to get to know our executive presbyter. I want you to get to know our executive presbyter, Dwayne Durst. So I sat down with Dwayne for a few minutes and asked him to describe what it is that he does. Here's that conversation. I have with me today Dwayne Durst. Dwayne is the superintendent for the New York Ministry Network, but he is also our executive presbyter. And Dwayne, can you give us some context? I'm going to take a stab at this and say that most of our ministers don't have any context. What is an executive presbyter? Why is it necessary? What on earth do you do?
Executive presbyter serves on the basically the national board for the Assemblies of God. There's 21 of us, counting our 6 executive officers and 2 directors of missions, and then the other 15 who serve either as regional EPs or language or ethnic fellowship EPs. Pastor Doug, our general superintendent, has asked us to do more in the area of pastoral ministry to the regions where we are.
Okay.
So a little tighter connection with our district superintendents, supporting our district superintendents, and just being that link between the national office, so there's a little better communication than perhaps we've had in the past. Also, our executive presbyters, we're the primary business body that meets when the general presbytery isn't in session once a year. Mm-hmm. So we're together every other month, either in person or by video connection, basically to do the business of the general council. Another thing our general superintendent has asked, he comes to the table with opportunities, proposals, and he said, okay, here's the ingredients. What do you want to add to it? So he's very much a collaborative leader. So it's really been exciting to be a part of that body and to be able to feed into the process.
Okay, so I have a theory, if you will, that some of what we do is ecclesial and some is missional.
Yeah.
There are some tasks that we have to do simply because they have to be done.
Yeah.
Credentialing issues, church polity, those kinds of things. But then there's the missional side of what we do and seeing the gospel move forward.
Right.
So what energizes you?
Well, you've got to do the business.
Yes.
Obviously, the general council ministers and serves over 13,000 churches and 38,000 ministers. So there's
no
that,
getting around it.
There's that responsibility that's there. But really what charges me up when I get to sit in those meetings is the vision for the future, the commitment to prayer, the prayer times that we have, the intercessory times that we spend praying for our fellowship, for our pastors, for our credential holders, for our district leaders. I'm getting chills just talking about it. It is a wonderful time to realize the incredible gift and privilege that we have to serve our fellowship. It's a small group, and yet there is unbelievable transparency. There's the opportunity that we have to speak without any hesitation, and it's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Well, I know that your schedule is busy. You pastor a network in New York, and now you also serve our region as an executive presbyter. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. It's a joy. There are additional responsibilities, obviously, for all of us that come beyond the scope of our network. What's really wonderful is when you have a network of support like you do and I do, where they open the door for you to have those opportunities to speak into, whether like a Valley Forge or a general council committee or another area of ministry that really expands the influence of your network. And it's a joy.
So that's a quick flyover for the roles of general and executive presbyters. It's interesting that in the book of Acts, there are 3 councils referenced, one in Acts 6, Acts 11, and the other in Acts chapter 15. As the body of believers grew in the early church, there were matters that needed to be processed in order to maintain unity in the church and give proper direction for the mission of the church. So in our tribe, churches have annual business meetings to report on the functional aspects of their ministry. We have sectional and district gatherings to conduct necessary business in order to represent our fellowship well. And, of course, we have the biannual gatherings called General Council to inspire, equip, and conduct business that will affect the effectiveness of our mission in God's greater plan of redemption. Thanks for being a part of our tribe. We're better together. And when we're together, good things tend to emerge from our gatherings. Oh, by the way, looking forward to seeing you at Summit in May. Until next time, God bless.